What is up, everybody? It is Lo, your host, and the rest of the Vols ATB crew with Brando, Drew, and Big Shot Rob and his baby. So we are kicking off right. We just finished watching the 2024 SEC football schedule release. I'm just going to go ahead and read all of Tennessee's opponents off. We'll kind of go around, talk about our thoughts, and then let's talk about some of our favorites, like out of the whole SEC, what we're going to see. So 2024, Tennessee at home, Alabama, Mississippi State, Florida, and Kentucky. And away opponents are Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Georgia, and Oklahoma. Let's hear everyone's first thoughts about that.
I'm super hyped. I mean, obviously, the big one pointed out for I think a lot of people is the trip to Norman. You know, Josh Heupel going back to his OG town. But I mean, at first, obviously, the BVS in me was like, wow, like we just got like fucked. But I looked at everyone else, and it's honestly not that bad. You know, Bama at home. Obviously, we saw this year that that's not impossible anymore. Getting the Gators back in Knoxville, playing Kentucky, and then the SEC West game, Mississippi State. I mean, feel like we could have got a better draw there, like a better SEC West opponent. I think me and Drew will probably agree that we probably want to see like Auburn in the mix, or it would be nice to see them. But the away games, man, having to go into Norman, into Athens, and into Fayetteville, that's just a crazy, crazy draw. I think it's going to be crazy to go into hostile environments for people. Just excited, man. A lot of crazy. This merge is finally happening. And to see like the hostile environments going into other people's territories that you're not used to really playing, it's going to be like a new fresh look. I'm kind of excited.
Look, it could be a whole lot worse, and when you add teams like Oklahoma and Texas into the mix, every team is going to have a tough draw regardless. I think all things considered, when you're talking about that we're playing Mississippi State at home, Kentucky at home, Florida, who I think we can all agree is not going to be the same Florida as they were several years ago, even next year and onwards. And Vanderbilt on the road as well. Like, we got a pretty favorable draw. I mean, especially when we knew that like we were going to play Alabama again, and it was inevitable that we were going to play Vanderbilt and Florida as well. So I'm pretty happy about it. It could be a whole lot worse. We could be Vanderbilt, where they have to play LSU, South Carolina, Alabama, Texas. I mean, like, those guys, they might even win a single game in the SEC. They might not even win a game in the entire season. I mean, it's looking dark for them. As far as like my favorite game that I'm excited about going into 2024 that doesn't involve Tennessee has to be Texas A&M. I think having that back and that rivalry back, and those two teams hate each other with a passion. I mean, wouldn't even play, like, Texas refused to play Texas A&M after they joined the SEC, a little bit over 10 years ago. So I think there's a lot of great matchups. And as far as Tennessee games go, I mean, definitely playing Alabama at home is going to be awesome to watch. So pretty favorable draw overall, and I think there's no reason for us not to think we'll win 9 or 10 games in 2024 as well.
I agree, man. I agree wholeheartedly. I definitely think Tennessee got a favorable schedule. I was hoping Auburn would be on it, but they weren't. But I definitely think they got more of a favorable schedule than most. I think OU got the worst end of it. I think Florida got the second worst end of it. So honestly, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining by any means. I love it. I think Tennessee definitely has a chance to win 10 games again, 11, 12, who knows? We'll see. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, I will say I'm way excited. The only thing that kind of disappointed me is we're used to playing Alabama, Georgia, and Florida every year. And I feel just like I wanted a little bit more diversity in this schedule than what was there. I mean, we're just kind of used to that. I'm happy with Oklahoma. I really wanted Texas instead. I don't know why. I just think that'd be such a fun game to go to. But Oklahoma got shafted, not to mention they are trying to act like they have 4 home games, but they're counting one of their home games in Austin, Texas. And that is not even remotely a fair thing whatsoever. You're not even in the same state or even remotely. So really they only have 3 true home games and 1 neutral site, but I don't really call that neutral in the end.
I mean, You got to continue to have that neutral site for Texas, Oklahoma, because they played, in Texas at a neutral site for God knows how long, almost over 100 years. I mean, they're not the only team that has to go through that, including, Florida and Georgia have a home game taken away from them since they'll be playing in Jacksonville. But, I mean, they really got the shaft. And honestly, Georgia got a freaking tough ass draw, too, when you have to consider that they have to go at Alabama, at Ole Miss, at Texas. I mean, those are not easy matchups. And you know what? Serves them right after all these damn years of them getting the easiest draw imaginable. And if you look on the message boards now, I mean, they are just raising immortal hell, and it's awesome. It's great. They finally deserve it. They'll no longer have a cupcake schedule where they have guaranteed 11 wins every single year. And, they'll finally get a taste of their own medicine, especially what Tennessee's had to deal with for God knows what last 20 years. So it's good. It's great for the conference. It's great for the sport.
I mean, it's about time, to be honest with you. And, I think the whole group chat was pretty hyped when we saw, finally they had to play, Bama in the regular season, going and playing Texas. And, finally them having to prove it in the regular season as well. And I think it's the perfect time for where our program really is going because, lost Hendon last year. We have Joe this year. But after, that, it's all Nico and, Jake Merklinger in the future. And, where Tennessee's going to be, obviously, living up to the classes that we have recruited, seeing what Heupel and this staff and everyone he's had around him, what they have built on their own off of the last 2 to 3 years. I mean, it's the perfect opportunity for Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree, man. I was listening to Swain's show earlier, and Braden Gall was on. He was speaking and saying that you'd probably rather want to play OU rather than Texas first because OU is a little bit, on the struggle bus. They don't really have it figured out yet. But he just got there, so he's got a lot of growing to do versus Sarkisian to be, in his third, fourth year. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be more established in OU. So I think we got a better draw going to play OU first while they're still figuring it out, and then I think we'll be ready for Texas next year.
Yeah, I think those are all fair points. My favorite of all, to be honest, is Alabama, Georgia in the regular season. I mean, we haven't had to see that, and it's going to be so incredible because they're always getting to the top of the playoff committee every year, but they have not had to play each other. So that made me super excited. I also laughed out loud with Kentucky going to Texas. That absolutely, I freaking lost it when I saw that because they're going to get destroyed. As well as Vanderbilt. I'm not joking. I really do feel sorry for them. I'm not going to lie. I truly do feel a bit sorry for them. They are going to be destroyed. Just saying.
I mean,
they're not going to win. They're not going to win no games.
I mean, obviously, if they do make it through, there's nothing really anyone can say. But the draw they have, going and playing in the hostile environments they are, where does Kiffin have Ole Miss? There's a lot of teams that they're not going to know where they're going to be after this year and a year or two, especially with the transfer portal. Obviously, these teams might be able to flip it all around. That offense, I'm just not expecting, especially with Mike Bobo at the reins now. I think going into the next year or two, they're going to realize the harsh reality that they're fast defenses, man. They're only fast in the real world. I mean, it's going to end up breaking down. Drew?
Anyone else have anything? Okay. Another thing that I kind of liked was that all the announcers, we just kind of stayed out of everything. They were picking all these other games. This schedule's way too hard. This schedule's the most favorable to win. And we were just kind of middle of the pack. That's where I like it. I like that they aren't trying to talk us up too much. I like that they aren't saying that we got an easy schedule. I feel like we're in a great spot. And who is our other opponents, our non-conference opponents for 2024?
So we start off the year playing Chattanooga. So that's a win. Neutral site versus NC State and Charlotte, which will be 90% orange. I mean, but it'll be more entertaining than some of the previous non-conference matchups that we've had over the years, and they're not terrible, but that should be a win as well. And then we have UTEP, which again a win, and Kent State as well. So all things considered, I mean, with the combination of our SEC schedule, I know Arkansas on the road is tough, and we haven't won there in a hot minute. But I think they're going to have a bit of a fall off, especially once KJ Jefferson graduates after this season as well. And I think Sam Pittman's a decent coach over there. But if we're talking about potentially being a college football playoff contender from 2024 to onwards, a game like Arkansas on the road should be a must win. I mean, there's no excuses in that front. The only game that I'm kind of bummed out about us not playing in 2024 as well is South Carolina. Just because of that hatred between Beamer and Heupel. I mean, it's like a personal rival, and especially after last season, I would just like for us to, play them on a year-to-year basis. But overall, though, I mean, I think we can be pretty thrilled about this, schedule. And it's like what Rob said. It could be a whole lot worse as well. Florida's got to play Miami, UCF, and FSU as their non-conference opponents. And, I mean, I'll just be honest. They're fucked. I mean, they might win 4 games, in 2024. Not even four games for that matter. So it's a pretty good draw. I mean, I think it's exciting. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Definitely looking forward to it. This just got me ramped up for football, but we have other things to be excited about because the BaseVols made it to the College World Series again after a crazy freaking super regional. I mean, the amount of weather delays and everything else that they had to deal with, they're now calling Hattiesburg Daddiesburg because of us. Coming from an 0-4 deficit in a must-win game, overcoming weather delays, then turning around and winning the third game. Absolute incredible pitching in that third game. I mean, I was like in and out, like falling asleep and waking up. I saw probably the first 4 or 5 innings. And then my TV was like screaming at me. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And I woke up and it was those last pitches where he was throwing 102, 103. And I stayed up to watch the end of it. I mean, what an incredible series that was.
I mean, Drew Beam to start that game, the spin he had on that ball in the first 3 to 5 innings was absolutely insane. And he wanted to stay in that game just as much as anybody, trying to, push off, Frank Anderson and Tony V. But Chase Burns coming in there, and the way, all the rumors the last few weeks going into the postseason, and the way that Chase Burns has led this team and came in and relieved this team, from supers to that game, just against, I can't even think of it, against, bro, I'm literally brain farting, oh my God. But just to see Zane Denton, the whole Taylor Swift thing leading up to him hitting that bomb, the memes of that, and then obviously the player for the shortstop for Southern Miss, his sister's OnlyFans kind of getting leaked, and that whole aftermath. I think what kind of really perfectly described that game for Southern Miss was how their outfielders collided and just failed to get up.
Good Lord, Brando.
I'm all over the place right now.
Why would you bring that up, bro?
Why would you do that?
Dude, I don't know if y'all heard, but someone literally screamed saying now his sister can post that game on OnlyFans because Southern Miss just got fucked. That's pretty.
I understand that.
We all saw it, but some things you just don't say
on social media doesn't mean you have to say that on the show as well. I mean, good God, man. I mean, you've lost my train of thought. I mean, it's unbelievable. No, I mean, I thought the bullpen was incredible, especially after the third inning and in game 2, and especially in game 3. I mean, that, I think it was the bottom of the 6th or top of the 6th when we had A.J. Russell come in. He got the job done, and then they did the risky move of putting Chase Burns right after that. And Burns, oh, my God. I mean, that might have been the best pitching he's had all year, if not his entire Tennessee career for that matter. I mean, he had ice in his veins. It was just incredible to see. My only concern going into this LSU game is, guys, I know we had a couple homers with Malley in game 3, and Burke had that, 500-foot bomb, but we couldn't hit for shit, I felt like, in game 2 and 3. I know we've got some runs in there and got some guys on base, but you're talking about, I think it's only 2 guys on our whole entire lineup that are batting over 250 in this tournament play so far, which is a little bit concerning. But I think there's some promising signs. I think Malley's just almost there on, getting hot with a bat. There was a couple good, showings for him, and Blake Burke, he's got, something's got to give. I feel like at some point something's got to give, and I think you're going to have 1 or 2 of those guys going into that LSU game that's going to show up for us offensively. But overall, I mean, second College World Series in 3 years, and realistically, should have been our third in a row. Considering last year's disappointment, just unbelievable of Tony Vitello and the state of this program. I mean, it's exciting.
Man, I think I think this weekend they proved that, I think they finally figured it out. You know what I mean? I mean, the batting average might not be, as good as you would want it to be, but at the end of the day, man, like they found a way to win. And you're in the playoffs or postseason, whatever you want to call it. So when you're, at this level of the sport, you're going to get everyone's best. Every single play, every single minute, you're getting everyone's best. And so it's going to be hard, to come by runs. Everyone ain't Wake Forest hitting 22 runs and, the eighth inning, you know what I mean? Like everyone just can't do that, and they found a way to do it. And as long as it works for them, it works for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll take a 5-0 win every day. Hell, I'll take a 1-0 win with another heartbreaker. I don't care. A win's a win in my eyes, you know what I mean? So but I think this time Tony will handle them different in Omaha, because last time in Omaha, he admitted that, they were a little uncomfortable, never been there, first time, So I think the experience from that team and the experience to now versus Tony Vitello clearly figuring it out on the, from a coaching standpoint, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, it's really easy to point at Beam and Burns and what they did, but the way that Aaron Combs came in between, and like we might not be talking about Omaha right now if he did not get us out of that inning, and just the way that he came in, not really been active all season, but to come in like a huge game, obviously win and go home where you got to win, like Rob said, was just huge, and then to let Chase Burns come in and obviously win the game. Just super, super exciting. And I think Rob has a great point. We're the last team to get into Omaha here, but hopefully like this time we can be the last team out. They've had experience. They've had all the signs this year guys, we lost to Grand Canyon in the Arizona opener this year to start this season. And now we're talking about going to Omaha. The way this team has grown, obviously it's still, I want to, bang everything in my room. Whenever I say Blake Burke, like if it's not a fastball, the way he's swinging the bat is crazy. But I think going into Omaha, man, like this team, they can get locked in, and we saw that this week. Anytime, any place, they'll go out there and play.
I mean, that's the thing, though, man, about this tournament is that sometimes it's those teams that have had to struggle and had, couldn't find their identity all year long and are able to get on a hot run and win the whole damn thing. I mean, we saw that the last 2 years of Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And, I know a lot of people are concerned about Wake Forest, but, you got to remember, it's been since 1999 that an overall 1 seed has won the College World Series. And that was Miami too. I mean, we were in that same position last year, and so it can happen. Anything can happen in this tournament. I mean, I don't think any of us also expected Oral Roberts as well to make the College World Series too. So like, it's just a crazy ass tournament. It's one of the most unpredictable things I think in all of college sports for that matter. And luckily for us, we played LSU earlier in the season, and we've seen from like that Friday and Saturday games, that like we can compete with them. I mean, we know what they have, type of adjustments that we can make. And luckily, I feel like our pitching is more locked in than it's ever been all season. So it's going to be exciting come Saturday night against LSU.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I'm sorry, let me cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead. You good? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to ramble like I usually do, but basically, I'm so excited, and I was very down on this team, as a lot of us were, like early in the season, losing that opener. I remember thinking, what the hell is this? I mean, I knew it was early. It was kind of a college showcase. And then to see just how far they've come is absolutely phenomenal. Every time I watch them now, I can just see them believing in themselves that much more. Every play, every step is a bit faster. Everyone is more confident. And they absolutely have a chance to win it all. I have zero doubt about that. They've also beaten LSU once. They know what they have. They played them 3 times already. They have an advantage going into someone that they've already played 3 times. Whereas some of these other teams haven't even played each other once. So I think they have a really good shot. I'm way excited. I also would like to talk about this topic because as Tennessee fans, we always get the shitty end of the stick and everyone's talking about us and sportsmanship and that and the other. And I want to talk about the whole scenario of SMU fans throwing trash at Tony Vitello's dad like a bunch of assholes. And then security not even doing due diligence in the beginning and just kicking Tennessee fans out for no reason. It's just like, why does this shit always, it's always something. Always.
It's because we got a bad name in the streets. That's why. Everyone knows it. You know what I'm saying? Like anyone that outside of the Tennessee fan base that brings up Tennessee, you automatically think, oh, hillbillies, idiots, assholes, all this other shit, you know, that everyone always says, man. So they just associate nothing but bad with us. But it's nothing new. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm okay with it because I think last year's baseball team got a fat ass piece of humble pie. And I think this season shows you, you know, that you're not always going to be on top. They fell, you know, a little short earlier in the season, and they're finally figuring it out. I think they thought they could walk on the field and people were going to lay down, but they were really getting, you know, a taste of their own medicine from last year. And I think it broke them down. I think it hurt their pride. I think it hurt the team. I think it hurt their chemistry. I think they could not figure out nothing was working. But that Vanderbilt series, it just clicked. And ever since then, they've been, you know, doing just fine. And as far as Paul Skeens Saturday, if I'm being completely honest with you, him and Chase Burns, if we're being honest, they're the same exact pitcher. They throw heat, they're going to throw it past you, and they're going to throw a wipeout slider. They see Paul Skeens, they've been seeing it the last 2 years. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. I feel like they're the exact same pitchers. They can both throw 101, 102, 103. Right down the middle, you either hit it or you don't. You know what's coming. Gear up, hit the ball, man. Like, I think they can beat LSU. And they also pissed on them last time they played. Mind you, Paul Skeens wasn't on the mound. I understand that. But you've seen him one time. You know what he's coming with. Gear up for the fastball and hit that shit, man. If you hit it right at someone, okay. But I'm all right with anyone going down swinging. Strikeouts don't bother me if you swing the bat. If you standing there and watch a pitch to go right down the middle on a 3-2 count, you know it's a fastball coming, I got a problem with that. Swing the bat.
I think, you know, Southern Miss kind of were getting like an outside look of what they were getting into in the series with us. You know, it's trying to think that they had their match, that they were a bigger dog than us just because they were a group of 5 school. Granted, a great series, obviously. Tony Vitello still having the audacity or the greatness in him to support their coach on his way out after everything they did to his dad and Christian Scott's father. You know, just, you know, all the trash talk all week going out with us, trying to, you know, prove their point, having the priests bless their stadium, talking about, you know, leaking our players and our pitchers, moms and sisters and all that, just to have their little pitching mound, trying to show energy. And it's like Rob said, it wasn't just Southern Miss. I don't know if y'all saw, but like everyone in quote tweets a week before or the first game of the series, like all around the SEC, teams that just hate us in mentions. And like I had so much fun just quote tweeting like a Florida fan saying, oh, y'all have to win 2 more to get into Omaha. Doubtful. Won't see it. Have a good summer. Like, here we are after everything to go in there and win that series. And I think obviously Blake Berg didn't do a lot, but when he hit that 400, like, you know, that homer that hit the church, I think it demoralized Southern Miss. And just to see them, like, they really just kind of sat down. And then really talking about defensively, Zane Denton, as soon as he made that play to, you know, extend that like that out, there's no telling what kind of inning Southern Miss was going to happen before Dane threw like and had a Sports Center top 10 play. Just those 2 plays alone, I think they kind of realized who they are and who we are. And this team, they definitely came alive. And to touch on Rob's point of, you know, Paul, you know, Skeens versus Dolander, we can't have the Dolander we saw in Game 1 versus Clemson in Game 1 and Southern Miss. Obviously, 4 innings, kind of his average there, but a really good LSU team. Obviously, everything on the line in Omaha. I want to see Chase get locked in, man. I think they mentioned a stat about his spin rate. You know, has been crazy low from year 1 to year 2. If, you know, Frank Anderson can get him locked in and get something out of him, I think LSU is going to see something they haven't seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I can't say I'm too entirely surprised about Southern Miss's reaction towards, you know, us all weekend over there at their stadium. I mean, I'll be honest, guys. I mean, we're the bad boys of college baseball. I mean, honestly, Tennessee baseball might be the most hated team in college athletics just because of last season's teams alone. And that the program exactly needs that. Like, we need that identity, like where we need to be hated because we're always, I mean, you look not just at that series, but even like the start of the tournament, we're always being talked about by Arkansas fans, Florida fans, LSU fans, Texas A&M. Like, they hate our guts, and it rocks. Like, it's awesome. And it makes the wins even feel so much more sweeter than they already are in the first place. And just the thought that, like, we just went in there, went into Daddiesburg, stomped on their heart, crushed their souls, made Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Tennessee's second home, and now Southern Miss has to call Tennessee daddy from here on out. It's just awesome. I mean, like, there's everything about that from game 2 and game 3 was incredible. We're the most talked about team in college baseball. No one's even talking about the fact that Wake Forest had 22 runs against Alabama and won and are the number 1 team in the country. Everyone's talking about Tennessee baseball when it comes to the college baseball world. And I think it's a great thing. Anytime you get talked about, like, good publicity, bad publicity, it's all the same. It's all good regardless. So, and the LSU matchup's exciting, Paul Skeens is an unbelievable pitcher. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in all of college baseball. But it's like what Rob says. He's eerily similar to kind of like how Chase Burns is. And I just think our guys are going to have a little bit of a different approach because it's not going to be the same as them going into Baton Rouge, and playing in that hostile environment. Yeah, I mean, there's more people in Omaha, of course, but guys are going to play with a chip in their shoulder. No one in all of college baseball thinks that we have a shot of beating LSU and winning this damn thing. And we've proven them all wrong all season long. So I think we're in a perfect position as opposed to we were last season, and especially when we were in Omaha 2 years ago. And I think it's going to be exciting as hell to see what happens.
I agree, man. And shout out to Zane Denton. A lot of people might not know this, but in case y'all don't know, I'm going to share this because it has been shared. But early in the fall, man, Zane Denton had a hell of a life. And I mean a hell of a life. One of his former teammates at Alabama offed himself. And then he had a family member die. And then he got extremely sick and he couldn't practice. So basically, like, essentially 85% of the fall, Zane Denton just wasn't there. He couldn't be. He was gone all the time or sick, dealing with, a lot of issues, man. And, he caught a lot of flack at the beginning of the season, a lot, but no one knew what he was going through. And that's why I try to, look at it from an athlete's perspective because, I was one. I try to look at it as, man, something has to be going on because this guy's talented. He's on one of the best, baseball teams in the country. Like, something is going on. Same thing with Ahuna, man. Like, these guys have been battling adversity all season long. And now they're essentially carrying Tennessee in the postseason. Like, without Zane Denton, Tennessee is sitting at the crib right now. 100% facts. There's just no way of denying that. Christian Moore could have got him through, Clemson or whatever, but the Southern Miss, nah, man. SEMO had a bad series. Zane Denton was where it's at, man. And I just applaud that young man for, sticking to it, keeping his head high, never complaining, never, making excuses, just going out there and playing every single day. And if we're being completely honest, who saved the series with the diving play at third to go to first base? Fucking Zane Denton, man. Like, shout out to that kid, man. I wish him nothing but success, and I hope he just blows up in Omaha, man, because the kid's got it. He's got it, man. And I'm thankful that life is better for him now, and he's able to enjoy it and play baseball and do what he loves, man. I love it. So shout out to Zane Denton, man. If you hear this, man, hey, you in my prayers, bro. For real.
Our transfers in general, like Rob mentioning Ahuna and obviously Zane Denton, Griffin Merritt, after the game against Southern Miss, talking about how when he left Cincinnati, he took a year off of going to dental school and pursuing his dreams because, he had a feeling about, wanting to end off his baseball career or continuing it for the better, and coming to Tennessee, leaving his girlfriend, leaving his mom. On top of that story about Zane, and then Maui Ahuna, everything he went through with Tim Corbin, Vanderbilt, and all of his family trying to come and watch him play, not being able to for a little bit. The way they've came and like helped this team, obviously we get frustrated with Ahuna. Obviously, a play that Griffin Merritt had in the outfield that, he could have done better, had a better ball. These guys have came into this team and gave like a crazy leadership, being able to come in from obviously other schools, coming into Tennessee baseball, what it was last year, and to get this for an Omaha, like y'all said, we have like a lot of special guys. And like Drew said, it's not like you're going into a crazy environment to play at LSU. It's like we're playing in the postseason where it's all win or go home in Omaha, the grandest stage of them all. I think everything this team has been through, from the losses to those kinds of stories, man, like Tony Vitello, he gets the right fire under him. Like, everyone believes in Tony V, and it just goes to show what he's done with this program, man. Like, he's not just their coach, he's their best friend. And this team is a bunch of best friends. So I think the confidence, the chemistry, everything going into this postseason, it's been nothing but great. But going into Omaha, it might just, get what gets us past.
Yeah, I think Griffin Merritt is who, and I can't believe I left him out, but I think he sparked the turnaround season because he came in the outfield, in right field, and just hosed the guy down at second base, hosed his ass down, and that was a big momentum changer. You know what I mean? That doing that, and then obviously coming on, you hitting the walk off, man. Like it's just, yeah, he sparked the turnaround, man. I can't wait to see what they do in Omaha. I think they're a lot more mature than they were last year and the year before. Well, maybe not the year before, but close to it a little bit. Very mature team, very good ball club. They know how to, answer the bell when adversity hits. Last year's team didn't know how to answer the bell when adversity hits because they didn't face it. Like they faced adversity 9 times last season. Like that's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this team, man. Go Vols, man. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Echoing everything you guys said. So, leading into Omaha, I want to know everyone's thoughts because it is double elimination, this LSU game. How balls to the wall do you go with your bullpen, knowing that if you beat them, you have a much better chance at success and getting further? Or are you even scared of going to the losers bracket? Or who are you trying? What are you trying to hide? Also, let's just talk about who you would pick if you were Tony and Frank as your starting pitcher, and do they keep the gray jerseys or not?
I think the alternative jersey thing is definitely working out well, and a lot of people were shocked that we wore them just because of how like the crazy seating and hosting obviously was with Southern Miss and all that. It's thinking to wear the alternatives, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. Because we've been on a roll in the alt unis. I know the Vol for lifers and traditionalists probably are sick, but I mean we're obviously playing with a fire. Going in and talking about, would you rather, would you be worried if you lost one? I think what we saw 2 years ago, obviously it's all we saw, but when we lost that first game, you're kind of digging yourself out of a hole. If you can get that first win, obviously, especially on a team like LSU, and then moving on, that is a crazy great start because I'm not sure, but there's probably a crazy stat of if you win one or two to start off, then you're probably in good feet. You can take a loss and that it's not all back and get your get back, but digging yourself out of the hole, I don't know if I would prefer that, especially with how we've seen the confidence with these guys when things don't go their way. Like, it's not the easiest thing to do with this roster. Talking about starting pitchers, I mean, it's kind of hard not to bet on Dollander, even though what he's kind of given you with the first 4 innings, especially the first inning. Drew Beam has been exceptionally well, but I saw, obviously a late night game. I wasn't expecting their arms to be the best, but that way he came out and gave 6 innings. I thought that was crazy in the way he's progressed and transformed his body this year. I would not be surprised if it was Chase or Drew Beam. But just talking about the pitching rotation in a whole, like, obviously we went through our normal guys, but you still had guys like Kirby Connell and a bunch of other guys in the bullpen that didn't even have to see the diamond in the series. I think Tennessee is so deep at that position that they have a lot of guys in the system that know they can come out there and pitch and give them a few great innings.
I got to be honest with you, man. I think our best pitcher right now, just starting pitcher, is Drew Beam. I think Drew Beam this year. So last year, the first 6-7 games, he was on one. You couldn't hit him, barely giving up runs. And then the last few games towards the end of the season, he kind of dipped off a little bit. And Tony Vitello spoke about it after they beat Southern Miss. He said that he didn't get to use Beam last year. He didn't use him, and essentially he said that he regrets not using him, and he was okay with whatever happened in game 3 Monday night simply because he didn't get to use Beam last year. And Beam went out there with a chip on his shoulder and was like, I'm gonna show you that from here on out you're gonna put me in these big games. And that's exactly what Beam did. He answered the bell and he showed up and he just shoved all night. When you get into those very, very humid places, that baseball you start to grip that thing a little bit more. You sort of throw that thing with a little bit more oomph in it. I mean, think about it. Chase Burns has not hit 102 at all since he's been here. And then, you know what I'm saying, on a foggy night where it's super hot and muddy and the humidity is extremely bad, my man's just throwing 102. Like, when you can get that grip on that baseball, it favors pitchers. Nights like that favors pitchers. And Drew Beam, I don't know what the hell he did mid-season. I don't know what adjustment he made. He's not talking about it. He won't say. They're trying to get it out of him, but he won't say. But whatever he did, whatever Coach A said to him, that shit worked. It worked, and it's working big time, man. And I don't think Beam loses another game this postseason. If Beam is pitching, I don't think he takes an L. I don't. The same thing
Bro
for Chase
was
Dolan.
throwing an up ball, Rob. Like his spin on the ball now is like insane. On top of like he gained about 15 pounds in the offseason.
Man.
And they were talking about if he could like keep that weight consistently through
Coach
the
Q.
season, like yeah, like the strength and conditioning
Coach
has been
Q,
insane.
man.
That he was getting up, in the hundreds, and the like if he can do that consistently, we saw 6 innings, and I honestly thought that we were only going to see Beam for about 4 or 5, and he still didn't want to come out of the game.
He had to come
probably
out, though,
probably
man.
could have continued. I mean, he had a little
Nah,
slugfest.
he was
there.
at like what 105, 106 pitches. He had to get him in, man. Two base runners, no outs. Nah, bro, you got to go get him. You know what I'm saying? He had to go
Hey
get
man,
him.
I don't know if y'all saw, but to mention that the way that Stanford coach left that kid in for like 120 something, that was insane. If y'all keep that game, and I'm glad that we have a competent staff that will not do that.
156.
And that's exactly why Van Horn didn't go to Omaha, and that's why he didn't go again, because you're freaking pitching a kid like, come on, man. The kid's like 19, 20, 21 years old, man, and you're taxing his arm, bro. That's not because you want to go to Omaha. Come on, man. That's not right. That's not right. And Stanford, I mean, no disrespect to Stanford. They're a great baseball team. Man. They made it to Omaha, bro. But think about it, man. Texas' starting pitcher from Friday night or whatever it was, came back on Sunday and legit shut them down in the outfield. I'm not going to say the outfielders let them down. Apparently it was bright and they couldn't see the ball, which happens. It happened to Vanderbilt last year when Tennessee played them. So, I'm not going to talk down on those kids for that, but I definitely think Texas probably would have won that series if that's called. I do.
It's crazy.
I mean, as far as that pitching rotation, it's hard for me to say because, a part of me wants to say, like, we need to get Drew Beam out there because his performance on Monday was one of the best that he's had in his entire career. Yeah. But another part of me says, like, I don't want to screw up anything more than, like, how our pitching is now. And, I would even argue maybe having Andrew Lindsey go out there in that first game. I mean, it might be risky, but, like,
I don't think it's risky. I don't, because they haven't seen him.
Right.
They haven't seen him. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't really think it's risky because, like, believe it or not, Andrew Lindsey, like, he's got some stuff, man. You know what I mean? And the lights are gonna be bright. I don't think we see the same LSU team that we've seen all season long, because this is the biggest stadium that any of them have ever played in, and the lights are going to be on. They're going to be bright. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, man. I really think Tennessee is going to be LSU Saturday. I do.
Yeah. I mean, and my whole entire thing is, like, if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it.
Exactly.
No
exactly.
The bullpen is working perfectly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would just start with Lindsey. Low. I mean, there's been so many comments from these last two people. What was your second part of that question?
I guess my questions were, of course, who you would start, but how deep are you willing to go in the bullpen for what I feel like is way important, because obviously when we took an L in the World Series the first time, it was not favorable at all. Is he going to learn from that and be like, fuck it, like, let's just go all in to get through this first round? Or, I would.
I think that Notre Dame loss last year really, really humbled Tony. I think it hurt his feelings more than we would ever realize. But watching him talk Monday night after the game about how he didn't use Beam last year, it was all over his face. Like, that shit still haunts Tony to this day. Because, I mean, let's be real here, man. Tennessee should be coming off of one championship, ready to compete for another. I'll tell you what, give me Chase Dolander versus Rhett Lowry. Give me that game all day long. Give me that game too. Tennessee, go get this shit done against LSU, man.
I mean, I think you can't, like, have this whole entire mindset being afraid of, like, maybe holding your best pitchers for later.
Hell no. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, your whole entire goal the entire season was to make it at Omaha. So you got to put your fucking cards on the table and just roll with it. And if it means game one, you put Chase Burns in there in the fifth inning, then you put fucking Chase Burns in there in the fifth inning. Yeah. Like, you got to do whatever you got to do to win that first game. Because
you have 4 arms that could be starting at any Division I school in the country. You have 4 arms in the bullpen. Tennessee is literally set up to win in Omaha because no one has the pitching staff that they do. Nobody. There is not another team in the country that probably has 2 starters in the bullpen. Tennessee has 4, and you could probably say 5 with a true freshman, AJ Russell, man. Like, he don't get the pitch a lot because these guys are good, but that kid's good too, man. Like,
he's slinging it.
Bro, he's got some gas and some stuff, man. Like,
No
It
one
set
knew
up
about
Tennessee
Aaron
to win,
Combs, and
man.
he came in there and saved
Yeah.
it. We honestly might not be talking about Omaha.
Yeah, and he has a wipeout curveball too, man. His curveball is nasty,
Disgusting, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
Damn, but when the lights go.
your whole
I
entire
know, bro. My computer went to sleep. My fault.
you can't be afraid of risking on putting one guy in too early or not, because if you do that, you're going to have the same end result that we had last year in the Super Regional.
Yep.
I feel exactly the same way. I hope that it starts out and goes well, like from the beginning, obviously. But if there starts to be any sort of hiccups, I hope Tony's just willing to say fuck it. And if it were me and I'm going out there against LSU, I probably would start Bean. I would, to be honest with you. He's proven himself. Balls to the wall.
Yeah.
We have plenty of other people in there, just like y'all said. And Burns, always in your back pocket. But I would do anything it took to get to this first game with a win.
I think him pitching Monday kind of screws up him being able to pitch Saturday. I mean, he maybe can give you, 50, 55, 60 pitches, but the Drew Beam that we saw Monday night, you got to hold on to him for elimination game or, game 3, whatever the case may be. I think you have enough arms to play it by ear and just play it, play the situation at hand and what you got, let it play out and see what you do. He definitely learned from not pulling Chase Burns when Buddy hit that foul ball home run. I mean, I think everyone in the United States of America that was watching that game, when they saw that home run go 500 feet foul, you should have took him out right then and there. And Tony regretted it a pitch later. You know what I'm saying? So he learned. I think he learned. I think this team is down to earth, and they realize that they are human, and I think that it's setting up well for them in the postseason because they got shit on all season. Well, half the season they got shit on, and it hurt their pride and it beat them up. But I'm a firm believer in beating somebody up and then building them back up. Those are the strongest ones that that rebound. Tennessee was not expected to make it out the Clemson region.
Oh, yeah.
They shouldn't have been there in the first place, in my opinion. But I'm glad they went there because I thought they were going to go to Indiana State, and I would rather not sit and wait on Wake Forest either. So I get it because I wouldn't want to play their ass either. So I get it. I think they got the better of the draw, and I think Tennessee's been better than every single team that they have played against. I don't know if they're better than LSU, but I think that the pieces that they have, if you go back and watch the LSU series, Tennessee could have won all 3 games. 100%.
That's what I'm saying, man.
They
Like,
shot themselves in the foot, man. Like it's there. You can see it. You saw it.
Sixth inning air that haunts me to this day.
It's there, man. You know what I mean? So Tony V. This is his best coaching performance since he has been at the University of Tennessee, because he has not faced this much adversity that he faced this season. Like, because normally, they're just not running through everybody.
6 years ago today.
Yeah, so
6 years ago today, Tony V came and saved Knoxville baseball.
I think the big difference that we need to I think a lot of fans have not talked about too is during that weekend we played against LSU back earlier in the season. I mean, we were consistently game to game making so many mental errors and mental mistakes and just bad plate running and everything. And we haven't it's not talked about, but we haven't really seen much of that in the last 4 to 6 weeks as well. And I mean, that's a big props to Tony V and the staff as well, as that they were able to get that adjustment throughout the middle of the season and really turn it around. And yeah, I mean, back what Rob said, I mean, we should have won game 1 against LSU.
Absolutely, 100%.
We completely blew it, and it was because we shot ourselves in the foot. And so I think you're just going to see a different type of Tennessee team. And I know Omaha is a way bigger ballpark than what we're used to at Lindsey Nelson or most college stadiums for that matter. I don't think it's going to matter, guys. I think there's something different about this team and going into Omaha than 2021's team, and especially compared to last year's team when they were going into that Notre Dame Super Regional. So I think we're going to see something special, and I think one way or another, this is going to be regarded as probably the best season in Tennessee baseball history.
I love that. That's bold. Dude, I love it, though.
I have to agree with that statement, Drew. I mean, it's not every day that you see a team with the SEC record that this team had and the early losses that they faced and losing 9 players to the freaking draft and coming back like this is out of this fucking world. It's out of this world. It shows how good of a coach Tony is, Frank Anderson, everything. They have developed and peaked at the perfect time. And now they just have to seal the deal. And you have to take it one game at a time. But I would be balls to the wall on this LSU game. That's just me. If you get that first win in your pocket in Omaha, you are set up real pretty.
If I wasn't going out of town, I would be driving down there like right now. But I'm going out of town for the weekend. I got to be honest. I didn't know if we
as soon as we started mentioning it, my stomach started turning. Like, I don't know. It's just even leading up to that game 3 against Southern Miss, having to wait forever for it, obviously, until 9 p.m. Central. But just, I don't know, seeing these guys like in the postseason, like once it's like 10 minutes till game time, it's going to be turning. I can't wait till Saturday, obviously, the night game there. The ticket price, I don't know if y'all seen this, right? It is like 10 times, like every other game is about $40. To get into Tennessee and LSU, I think the minimum yesterday was like $146 a ticket.
Because they're all resale. A lot of people knew this Tennessee LSU game was about to be wild, so somebody bought 1 million fucking tickets and they're reselling them off for high prices. It's a smart thing to do, but I hate when people do that. It's just not
crazy.
It's not right, man. But I mean, I respect it. You got to get your hustle on somehow.
Might be the best college baseball game in.
Do we really respect it though? I mean, because those guys.
I do respect it because at the end of the day, man, everyone has a hustle. Jesus. You know what I mean? Some people got to get it by all means, you know, and I respect that. I don't like it. I don't have to agree with it, but I do respect it because you got to get your money how you get it, man. You know what I mean? Like,
remember last year looking for Tennessee Bama tickets and it was like $600 on the game week, bro. Like it was like. I was texting the group chat like I'm not gonna be able to make it to this game, and luckily I had like a fan, like someone that followed the page
tickets way before the game because I just knew that they were gonna be super expensive, and lo and behold, we were fucking undefeated and beat Alabama and had the greatest college football game probably of all time in the regular season, probably the greatest football game of all time.
You want to know what happened to me on that game? My dumbass was so excited that I did not download our season tickets. My mom and mine's season tickets before we fucking got there. And I pre-gamed at G10 with
we were so lit.
And everybody. It was lit as hell. And then I get up to the gate and I'm like, holy fucking shit. I don't have these damn tickets for this game. And I knew that we were going to win because of the adversity that I was facing. I had to walk through thousands of people going the opposite direction. I cried to a fucking several door people. I had to go all the way to the front ticket office, wait in a line of 60 fucking people for them to get me up to the front, and then proceed to tell me that their Wi-Fi wasn't working. It was a whole ordeal. By the time but here's the best part. I got 2 paper tickets. And when I got those in my hands, I was like, we're fucking winning today because I have 2 paper tickets to remember it. And I'm one of the only few people that have paper tickets now. Yeah. And they are locked in my damn safe. They are locked in my safe.
I did Drew so dirty.
Hell yeah.
Basically, leading up to this whole game, I was with Drew. Like, he was my little buddy to make sure that I didn't fucking, like, face plant again. And, like, half barrel. And we're just, leading up to the game, obviously, going to the fancy porter potties that had marble floors, by the way. And I guess in the exchange of walking from there and back to the Spire tailgate, I dropped one of the victory cigars. And Drew gave me the one I gave him back. And to this day, I feel terrible because Drew didn't get to smoke the victory cigar, and I did.
Because I'm a great individual, okay? I saw someone that was down in the dumps, and you're like, don't have my cigar. And I'm like, you know what? Just take the fucking thing. Like, just take it. So it was all right. I'm more thrilled about the fact that I managed to get 2 tickets at that game in the lower bowl for only $200. How I pulled that off is a freaking miracle. I don't know how. It's probably
because you bought them early.
$350 in Section P.
What?
Because you bought them early.
No, I didn't buy them early. It was the week up.
Game week.
Like,
damn.
Yeah.
We pulled off a heist.
Pulled that off. But
fucking heist.
Now, I don't have a paper ticket, but I can proudly say that I still have the wireless copy on my Apple Wallet. So I look at that about once a week to remind myself that I was at probably the greatest game in the history of Neyland Stadium and one of the top 3 best games in the history of Tennessee football as well.
I still reflect on that. I still go back to my damn TikTok like once a week. Oh my God. I'm just like, This was so amazing. You know what's even more crazy about that is my aunt and uncle, they live in Florida and they have season tickets. And they had came to every home game, but then they were like, wow, this game, it's so expensive to sell these tickets. They were like, Lauren, can you sell our 2 tickets for us? I was like, sure. We sit in section M, 6 rows up, in the end zone where the winning kick happened. And they were like, we aren't going to come. Sell our tickets. I posted them on Twitter for $650 a piece. They were gone in 5 minutes. But they did not get to witness such an incredible event. And I still feel bad. I still feel bad to them.
Nah, that's their.
I hope you took a piece. I hope you took a little piece because
I did it.
You are a wonderful person because if I'm selling your tickets and I'm getting $650, shit, you finna break me off at least $100. A little bit of something.
That would have bought like half of my beer supply in the stadium that night.
Man, what a freaking night, man. I didn't get to rush the field because everyone lit up cigars and I had my son with me. He was only like 6 months at the time, so I had to bounce. I was pretty upset about it, but I don't give a damn. Go Vols, baby. Fuck Bama.
I mean, I didn't rush the field either, but just sitting over there like 20 rows up in the lower bowl and just witnessing that and seeing both of our field goal posts go down while Dixieland Delight was blaring in the speakers, it is. I have like 3 videos of it. I'm not even joking when I say I watch it 3 times a week. It's since that day I've watched it at least 3 times a week. I mean, like people ask me all the time. They'll be like, what's the best day of your life? And I was like, I'm sorry, Sarah, but this is the best day of my life. Like, not being your girlfriend or your boyfriend. I'm like, me witnessing Tennessee beat Alabama. I'm like, I don't think anything's ever going to top that.
Yeah, Hypo literally jumped to the top 10 coaches of all time in Tennessee history off of one game, beating Alabama. Literally, bro. Like, he's top 10 in Tennessee history immediately, just off of that win alone.
Absolutely. That's going to forever be my favorite memory to recall. And, I mean, until we win a natty, of course. And I will max out the fucking credit cards.
I'll see y'all there. I promise you. If Tennessee ever goes to the national championship, hey, look, we there. All right? We are there. Ain't no question about it.
And we're talking to you, Ronnie. We expect you to come.
We'll be there in the name of Ronnie's credit card. Well, one going to be there. No doubt about it.
All right.
Bring the kids.
How's your kids? How's your wife, baby? Because we finna get drunk tonight.
Just saying, guys, the 2025 national championship is going to be in Vegas, by the way. Just throw that out there. Just imagine.
I'll make that drive. That's only like 12 hours for me. I'll make that drive. I'll make that a road trip.
Just imagine Nico holding over that national title while we're all like on the Vegas Strip. Like that.
I will get us on the field. Don't worry. I'm going to get us on the field. If Tennessee is playing for the national championship in 2025, I promise y'all, I'm getting us on that damn field. All right? Don't ask me how I'm going to do it. We just know I'm going to do it. Especially if we win that motherfucker. We win it. Shh, man. Look, you ain't able to tell me nothing.
You got a natty to win in the next week and a half, and that's in Omaha.
I do have like one question for all of y'all. So who would you say at the moment with just their record, their resume, and everything, out of all the coaches on campus, who is the best coach that we have right now? Not who is going to be next year or 5 years from now. I mean, are you going to go to Tony B,
easy,
Rick Barnes, or Hype?
Easy. It's not even a question, bro. It's Tony Vitello.
It's
not even a question, bro. It is 1,000% Tony Vitello, bro. 1,000%, bro. Like, there's not even a question, bro. Like, I know you can't really compare sports. I know that, but when it comes to baseball, my personal opinion is that baseball is probably the second or third hardest sport to play. I mean, imagine hitting a baseball coming at you 103 miles an hour. Like, imagine hitting that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they play 60 games. You know what I mean? No other sports play that many games outside of the NBA, obviously, but no other sports plays that many games. To be able to be focused and locked in that much, that long, to recruit the way Tony Vitello recruits. I mean, the guy is 1,000% probably the best recruiter in the country in any sport at any school. If we're gonna be real, Tony Vitello is probably number one recruiter in college sports right now. There's just no question about that. It's just the truth. You know what I mean? It's Tony Vitello, man. Tony Vitello. I mean, look what he just faced they're fucking in Omaha right now. They flew out to Omaha like 4 hours ago, bro. They're in Omaha after the season they just had. And it sounds like they had a bad season, but they didn't. You know what I mean? Like, definitely Tony B, bro.
I have to agree. I also say Tony, and I have to dip out a little early, so I'm going to let y'all finish and close out. But I can't wait for this Saturday, and I will see y'all next week.
Your audio slow. I don't even know what the question was.
Best coach on campus right now: Tony V, Dinkin Barnes, Heupel.
I mean, I think, sheesh. I mean, it's got to be Tony V. Omaha in the last 2 years should have been 3 in a row. Obviously this year,
went to a championship too.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and then on top of that, I mean, that is true. But I mean, Heupel cannot control Jeremy Banks.
No, I understand. I know.
Yeah, I mean, we could be talking about Josh Heupel, being in a national championship right now. Someone just did some push-ups and didn't go threaten James Clausen. But Tony Vitello in that nature, man, what he did with 8 different players also left last year.
What is wrong with
left last year, and to come back and do it this year, obviously redoing a lot of true freshmen, a lot of guys that are sophomores, not had a lot of time, and then the 3 transfers we did have. Even seeing Self Halverson come back this year, I think everything that Tony V is able to put together with the guys he has, it has to be Tony V and the staff he has. I mean, like I said, he's obviously, we have 3 good coaches when we talk about men's sports that click with their players and are more than just a coach. But like, you literally look at Tony V when he's in that dugout with the players, and you cannot tell him apart from the roster sometimes, obviously because of his non-aging factor, but he's just one of the guys. And I think the way he's embraced his program and built it the last 6 years since today has been, something that we never thought Tennessee baseball would be. The one good thing that John Curry did.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, Curry hiring Vitello wound up being probably
the only good thing he did at the University of Tennessee.
Being the best hire we've had in the last 20 years, in my opinion. I mean, it's hard to disagree with it not being Vitello as the best coach on campus, just because when you make the comparison of where the program was when he first got hired, I mean, just a freaking just bottom feeder of the conference, never making the conference tournament. I mean, always finishing dead last, and especially what it came from, going from having Dave Serrano just consistently struggling, couldn't get anything going, for Vitello, literally in the span of less than 3 years, wound up putting this team on the college baseball map, taking them to the College World Series. And, despite all these, teams in the conference having unbelievable facilities like Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, still being able now to out-recruit those schools, it's incredible. I mean, I have to agree with Rob. He's probably the best recruiter in all of college athletics for sure. Now, in my opinion, the second best coach, and this is going to be a hot take. I know Brandon's going to hate it. I think Rick Barnes is the second best coach.
You're fucking stupid.
And hear me out.
I agree.
If you look over the span of the last several years that Tennessee basketball has been in, we have been one of the most consistent top 15, top 10 programs in all of college basketball. He is consistently recruiting top 10, top 25, and especially when you compare it where it was when he first started, especially after when Donnie Tyndall's disastrous, tenure over there, and as well as Konzo's. The rebuild he did, he put even further highs even when Bruce Pearl was able to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce
I'm not going to disagree with it, actually, now that I've thought about it.
You can't disagree.
Because, I mean, just what he's doing the last 3 years, and then going into this season now with the brand new roster, but even obviously the guys he's brought in from the portal now, it's obviously a lot to predict, but everything that's looking like for the trajectory of this year and what we're hearing about these transfers like Ledlum and what Dalton Kennett has and what he's doing at practice after the first few days, I mean, guys,
he's good.
I'm told that DK is a dog. That's what I'm told. I'm
when you said that, I was like, oh god, he's going to Georgia.
I'm not gonna lie, that was my first thought. Yeah, I was like, oh my god,
I was like, who the fuck is DK?
Yeah, but all jokes aside, just right now, you guys say Rick Barnes is the second best coach on campus. Now, 2 years from now, I think it's easily going to be Josh Heupel, because I think within the next 2 years, this team's going to be in a college football.
Honestly, if we're being real, whoever wins the championship first will be the best coach on campus. Yeah. But until then, it will be Tony Vitello. There's no other way to go around.
I mean, and I just think if you just compare the 3 coaches and who has the best shot right now to win a national championship, it's obviously Tony Vitello at 1. But when you look at, what we've returned for basketball this upcoming season, plus some of the additions that we've had from the portal, you cannot argue that Tennessee is not going to be a pretty favorable pick in Vegas on not just making a Final Four this upcoming season, but even potentially being a national champ as well. I mean, they got a very similar recipe and size as to what UConn had last year, in my opinion. And I think, as long as you have that size and play aggressive basketball, which we're going to see a different type of style with these guys coming in.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
The sad part is, if I hate to say this, I do, because it's not fair to say it about Coach Hype. But the sad part is, this year was his easiest year to go get a chip, man. This is probably going to be his easiest year because it's only going to get harder from here on, man. You got Texas coming, you got OU coming, and Georgia's not going anywhere. Alabama's not going anywhere. But you beat Alabama this year, and you lost to Georgia, and that's okay. It's okay that you lost to Georgia. But losing that game to South Carolina, it sucks, man, because this year was the best year. You would have got a rematch game against Georgia, and, you would have been a little bit motivated. Who knows if you would have won or not? Who knows? Maybe not, maybe so. But you would have had a revenge game. So the team would have been ready to play for sure, even had they lost. I just think this year was the easiest year to do it, man. It's only going to get harder from here on, in my opinion, especially with 12 teams.
Maybe, but I could even make the argument that this year they're even going to have just as good of a shot, if not even better. Because when you take in considering the fact that Georgia has to replace a lot of guys on their defensive line and defense side of the ball, and Stetson Bennett, and Alabama does not have an answer at quarterback. All three of their quarterbacks.
But that doesn't matter. People said the same thing about Georgia last year.
From
they're the best defense of all time. They all graduated, and Georgia did the same exact thing. So, I mean, you really can't say that because they proved us wrong.
They had three guys in their defensive line drafted within the top 15 picks. They are going to have a bit of a fallback. Now, it's not going to be drafted.
They got 5 stars everywhere, bro.
Let's talk about their football ability. Let's talk about their driving ability.
They don't have a 4-star starter on their defense. Every last one of them are 5 stars.
But can they drive, though?
Yeah.
Just based on the fact that you're playing Georgia at home, Alabama
can they drive a car?
Questions at quarterback, and Florida's going to be awful this season. And South Carolina's a massive revenge game in Neyland, and Texas A&M's got a lot of question marks, especially if Jimbo being the hot seat and them trying to find new answers offensively as well. I mean, if Joe Milton can find a way to be able to play on a consistent basis like he did at Clemson, there's no doubt in my mind that this team could be a college football playoff contender.
Hey, let's find out, baby.
Joe Milton, with a little mixture of some Polynesian.
Go Vols, baby.
Hey, man. I guess, obviously, a lot to talk about. We're all looking forward to Saturday. But a big thing coming up before this weekend is obviously a big recruiting decision that a lot of us have always thought was a done deal, but down the line has been looking, a little dark horse rolling on in, and that's for the in-state 4-star Boo Carter. Obviously, if you haven't known, some Michigan mods over there on their On3 forum were pretty optimistic following his official visit. Before that, we had a little unofficial visit. It was, heavily involved with 3 other recruits. Thought to be, having a done deal. Possible Michigan lean because of the ability we talked about at Drew last week, that they were going to let him play offense and defense, right? Well, Boo Carter today posting, where's my Tennessee fans at? Made his way back to Tennessee for the unofficial visit. Set to, I think, announce on the 17th in New York City. A big-time announcement. Obviously, this one's all going to come down to, the final, but maybe, honestly, until signing day, knowing how this has played out and thinking how much of a lock it was. Guys, Tennessee wants Boo Carter at the defensive back. Yes, he is a really flashy player on offense in his high school career right now, but his defensive career, his last year, 40 tackles, 4 interceptions. Down in Chattanooga is now at Bradley Central, teaming up with a teammate, Marcus Gore, also Tennessee commit. This, I feel like, with the relationships that have been built over the last few years, obviously his teammate being committed to Tennessee, I think Michigan has a very good case, but I think the Vols are going to come out and get this commitment. What do y'all think this commitment would mean for Tennessee?
I mean, I know he was on campus today, right? Yesterday. I know that he had one final visit campus for us, which I think is huge in my opinion. But the one thing that does concern me is that, Michigan's willing to offer him to play, on the offensive side of the ball, and we just know that that's just not going to be a possibility here, just with the amount of talent that we're going to have coming in.
That's not true though.
You don't think so? Even with potentially Mike Matthews and Ryan Wingo coming in here, you still think he's gonna be able to find a way to get in that wide receiver?
My opinion is, here's my opinion. I could definitely be wrong, but my opinion is, if you are good with the football in your hands, Josh Heupel gonna figure it out. I mean, think about it. D. Williams, he might not really play on defense, but when he got the football in his hand, what he doing? He finna return that thing, and he gonna get us, 20, 30 yards. You know what I'm saying? If you are good with the ball in your hand, Hype gonna find a way. And I think that's what he will have to show. If he comes on campus and he shows that he's electric with the ball in his hand, which he has already shown, he clearly is. If he can show it, on campus, you can't tell him he can't play offense. Then he gonna transfer and then go to Michigan and then you know what I'm saying, like then ball out. You know what I mean? If that's what he wants to play. Let him play. Give him a chance. If he balls out, give it to him. I mean, it was the same thing with Juwan Jennings. Butch Jones was like, all right, you want to play quarterback? Yeah, you can go ahead and go to quarterback, but you live. You know what I'm saying? And he got his ass lit up. And he was like, all right, cool. I'm going to wide receiver. So it could be the same thing with Boo Carter. He might be like, you know what? Nah, these SEC defenders hit a little too hard for me. I'm going to go play safety. Just never know. Give him a chance.
I mean, you're certainly right. We never know. It might be just one of those things after 2 or 3 practices when he comes he's like, hey, I'd rather play defensively. It's just a little disheartening that like Michigan's going with that approach. And the other thing that does have me a little bit concerned is that Deion Sanders is apparently going to be there when he commits. Which I don't know how to feel about that. I know that like Colorado's tried to be on a little bit of a run, try to catch up with Tennessee and Michigan, but I don't know. Anytime I feel like you have an opposing like recruiting school over there, it's going to be at your commitment site. Like it's just, I don't know. It has me feel a little bit iffy about it, but I think Tennessee needs this, like especially within the in-state recruiting class, and just looking at as Brando mentioned earlier, with us that DB board especially, like this is one that like Tennessee has to get. I mean, we got it. He has to commit to Tennessee come this week.
Yeah, you can't have an in-state guy that's been, this prize, like obviously Boo Carter, having Caleb Beasley and Marcus Gore already in the class, wanting to get Edwin Spillman in the class. The guys that have kind of been trajectory to Tennessee before this class even started, looking at it from last year. You don't want to have another in-state Walter Nolan moment. Even like, obviously with the thing on paper with Michigan wanting him on offense and there being a lot of real reason why he would go there, you just don't want that to happen when all you've been having is the pages and everyone else, the insiders talking about Boo Carter. I think eventually this one does go Tennessee's way. I would be shocked if he's not, a Tennessee Vol after this weekend. That does concern me that Deion's going to be there, knowing the connections that he does with Barstool Sports. Like, Barstool literally openly paid for Travis Hunter to go to Jackson State and now follow to Colorado. Like, we saw that whole commitment that happened and how it happened, and being able to get that final phone call or have that final talk in. Obviously, I think there's like a rule like that, Michigan could go out there and like they could, if they wanted, they could come out to Knoxville and have one final talk with him. If anyone wanted to come and have a talk with Boo Carter, they could travel down here and have a talk with Boo Carter. Just can't have anything like crazy in it. But I think Tennessee has done enough, especially after today. He went live in the Tennessee Vols facility and obviously had it muted, but he was dapping up with, Coach Heupel, Coach Banks, and Coach Martinez. And I mean, just getting that final word in with them, I feel like they were probably able to bring it home. We'll find out this Friday. But would be a huge one. I think you want to get just for the positivity and the chemistry, like the outward trajectory from guys looking at your class, from other classes. Like other teams are looking at your class, knowing who you're going to get, who's a lock and not. And if you don't, it's kind of just a bad image. I think Tennessee is definitely in it for 2 other 4-star offensive linemen that I would not be surprised to also have a decision soon. And that's Ronan O'Connell and Max Anderson. Both of them getting back on campus. Max getting back on campus after visiting schools like Baylor and Wisconsin. Then I think O'Connell was part of that huge Clemson weekend. Then went up to Wisconsin as well, Michigan State. Coming back to Tennessee soon, and I think that one's pretty much all but done. Tennessee, obviously, we talked about the whole Sammy Brown saga last week, Drew, and the other recruits like Bryant Wesco, guys that were high on Tennessee's board, but not really a Tennessee lean, or really Tennessee was even in it, and people started freaking out. Like I said, Tennessee is, the relationships they do have with guys and where they are trending, they're pretty much locking these guys up. And I think this class still has a long ways to go. And before, signing day, Tennessee and, the Vol Club is going to get their way back into a few top recruitments. It's just bound to happen. We've seen it happen over the last few years. Now they put it on paper. I think this class, obviously, the little hiccups early on, but it's not over until December and May. So a lot more to look forward to. And I think people should just calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just need to just take a big breather and just realize, like, just let the process roll as it is, and just let Heupel and the staff do their work.
Sheesh.
Now, I will say that. All right, Brandon.
Speaking of recruiting news, Williams Nwaneri, 5-star defensive lineman, to be like an Oklahoma-Tennessee battle. Just went to his Oklahoma official visit. He's back in Rocky Top this weekend. 5-star defensive lineman Matt Ray from On3 quote tweeting him just now. That's a huge one to get back on campus, especially after his Oklahoma visit, to see that he's going to be here this weekend. All I got to say is 2 words, and that's Rodney Garner.
They survived, man. Tennessee survived, man. That's what it's about. They survived the visit. I mean, people are freaking out and whatnot, but what a lot of people need to understand is Tennessee hasn't really had a hiccup in recruiting. They lost one battle that they were deeply in. That's Cam Franklin. That's it. Like Sammy Brown and all that. Like those aren't really lost recruiting battles. Like Tennessee was behind in those already, and it was going to be a long shot for those guys to land here, man. So everyone can definitely pump the brakes, relax a little bit. Cam Franklin went to USC, but if they can still get him on campus during the season, you never know what can happen until the dotted line is signed. I ain't tripping. And last thing I will say is this: Walter Nolan's recruitment was not a botched recruitment. Okay, he went to Texas A&M, yes, but Tennessee did not botch that recruitment. Tennessee let him walk. So let's just get that out there. Tennessee let him walk.
Fair.
And I mean, I think this whole Nwaneri thing, I don't know if y'all have heard about this, but we can talk about this really quick because it kind of grinded my gears. But when Nwaneri was on his official visit there at Oklahoma, you know who they brought in the room to talk to him for his recruiting visit? Who was his special buddy? A guy that hasn't even been there for a week in Dejon Terry. They had Dejon Terry sit down there and talk to him apparently about why Oklahoma was better than Tennessee. And that really kind of just grinded, made me kind of pissed off for a guy, obviously we thought, that we all gave a welcome, a really wonderful goodbye to, obviously doing the best for his family. But I think Oklahoma is a lot farther from Mississippi than where Tennessee is, just in my personal opinion. And, all of that, and then to see that we survived the visit, he's still going to be here this weekend. The whole message they threw out, I think, was kind of ironic for Oklahoma to do that when they lost 2 2023 defensive linemen from this year's class that didn't even see a snap on the field, didn't even get on campus yet, and already are out of the program. So obviously a lot when you're going up against these powerhouses in recruiting, they're going to do everything. We saw what they've done with Heupel when he had to build this thing up. When Mark Stoops, what he said to the Wade twins a couple years ago. Everyone has their final word. But I think we're getting up there with the big dogs, and we're winning these recruiting battles that are going to count.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to really worry too much about what Dejon Terry has to say about Tennessee, and trying to use that to persuade Oklahoma. Like, there's no disrespect for the kid. I hope he, wish him the best. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the staff necessarily wanted to keep him, and actively try to make sure that he stayed here. So, good luck to him, whatever. I don't really care. At the end of the day, we're off to greener pastures. Tennessee's in a better position than Oklahoma is, and if he thinks Oklahoma's a better spot for him, then so be it. But I think we're going to be all right regardless.
Let's do it, baby. GBO, go Vols.
So a lot to look forward to. Obviously, a huge commitment announcement this weekend. BaseVols in Omaha. Game 1 against LSU. I think 6 p.m. Saturday. 6 p.m. Saturday. 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, all that. The whole mid-state's definitely going to be watching that. Super excited about the series coming up in Omaha. I think we win that first game, and like we said, there's no telling what could happen.
Yep.
The last team in Omaha, let's be the last team to get out. I don't know if y'all got any other final words, but it's been a hell of an episode with the boys.
Great episode.
Next time.
Always a blast. This baseball season has been nothing short of incredible. A lot of ups and downs, but we're finally made Omaha, and let's see what happens, man. Anything.
Yeah. Y'all enjoy y'all week. Enjoy y'all's weekend, man. And GBO, baby. We'll be watching together Saturday. Let's do it.
Yeah. Good night and go Vols, baby.
Go Vols, baby.